Hello everyone, I'm Ben Coleman. I'm your anchor host here for the Florida Aviation Network, coming to you live and in the clear from the Sun and Fun International Expo and Fly-In, Lakeland International Airport. It's been a blur. It's been a good week. It's been a relatively safe week. About the only thing that has not made it is the top of my head from a sunburn, but other than that, I found out what hair is for, and it's to protect the top of your head. Today is it's going to be kind of a little unusual because we know each other so well. We've done this so many times. And Lee, why don't you just go ahead and host the show from there? Camera 3 is probably going to zoom in on you and say, "I'm Lee Lauderback, your host today."
Let me see if I can get this right. You know, it's about time we change roles. So let me work this. Hello, I'm Lee Lauderback, and welcome to the Florida Aviation Network. And today we have Mr. Ben Coleman, very accomplished pilot, who's going to tell you a little bit about recurrent training and some of the attributes and some of the things. The Sun and Fun Air Show is just so great to be back, and after a year taking off and getting out of the cage. So let's have some fun with Ben here today and see what he has to say about recurrent training.
Well, Lee, thank you for having me here on your set.
It's our pleasure, sir.
And Lee, recurrent training is it's very important, and it doesn't make any difference if it's in your P-51 Mustang or your Cessna 152, whatever you're flying, and it's so important to maintain proficiency and just get with a professional that knows your aircraft as well as possible. When can you know too much about the aircraft that you fly?
Well, the things that I understand, you can never, it's always a learning thing. So how long have you been flying, Mr. Coleman?
Well, Lee, I'm glad you asked. And actually, I've been flying for a little over 40 years now. And
wow.
I know I don't look that old, but I started in a J3 Cub, and I actually would have to get up on my knees because I couldn't reach the rudder pedals, and Dad would let me wiggle the stick. But that's where I got my start, and just kind of progressing along. Got most all of my ratings, but one thing that I have not done is my T6 checkout and my transition to the P-51.
Well, we all have goals. It's not too late. So at your age especially, there's a little margin of availability if you don't wait too long.
Are you indicating that I'm near death, Lee? Is that where this is going? I don't know. But.
Well, you know, don't throw rocks when you live in a glass house, right, man? So from the Cub, and then you got your private and then commercial and up to airline transport?
Well, I haven't done my ATP yet. I just haven't felt the need, but I'm thinking about that and actually working on my CFI as we speak. I've given a lot of hours of non-certified flight instruction. So now it's time that I go ahead and make it legal to where I can actually make an endorsement. And
wow.
tailwheel endorsements is going to be my focal point in the Citabria, 7 ECA Citabria, and the 1941 International Cadet.
That's great. I don't know if you noticed when you walked in the door today, sir, but Bob Jex with the FAA is here and part of the Florida Aviation Network, and now we have it on video and audio. So
I understand that he's here on vacation, that he's really not here. He's here as Citizen Jex. Citizen Jex is here. And I do intend to get with Citizen Jex to learn as much as I can about the airworthiness regulations that's a standard. Lee, I don't know if you realize this, but people get hung up around the word rule and law, but it's a standard. It's a performance standard that we all need to go on. And if you notice me, Lee, that's me with my Lee Lauderback sunglasses and helmet on. But no, I do not have my Lee Lauderback helmet and sunglasses, but I would love to. But Lee, the transition, I do want to transition from the T6 to the P-51. Do you have any time in a P-51?
I have a little time in the P-51. Okay. Like so many other people, especially during the combat years, the T6 Texan is an ideal transition into the Mustang. Do you have any idea why, Ben?
I really don't, but maybe you can enlighten me, Lee.
Well, it's actually because the Mustang is a little bit easier to fly than the T6 Texan, and therefore the Texan becomes the ideal trainer. I I've owned a Texan for many years. I've soloed the airplane twice. I'm getting better at it and get more brave. But everybody asks, why don't you fly the Texan more? And my answer is because it's more difficult to fly. And if I go out there and I ground loop the airplane, and I've got to go explain that to Mr. Jacks with the FAA, I'd never live it down in the industry ever. So I stay in the easier airplanes like the P-51 Mustang.
Lee, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know you're the host and everything here with the Florida Aviation Network, but I took a glance into the cockpit of Crazy Horse, and I saw a little unidentifiable box in there, and I said, what the heck is that Lee has as an airplane? It was autopilot. I didn't realize that your air show routine that you do is done with an autopilot. You're just sitting back there just kind of watching things and...
Oh, no surprise. I openly admit it. They go, that was great. I said, I was just along for the ride. The Mustang, as you know, Ben, seriously, is a strap-on, wear-on aircraft that just becomes part of you. And everybody goes, you have to think about it. And the answer is, no, I really don't. I just think about what's coming next, and then it just sort of happens. And in a sense, I am along for the ride. But what a thrill ride. I gotta say that.
I do say that tongue in cheek, and again, in all seriousness, we're trying to bat this around and have some fun. But by the way, Lee, isn't that what aviation is really all about? Is enjoying being aloft and that view and enjoying the machine and
well, not really. No, Ben, I need to correct you on this.
Talk to me.
I'm sorry. I think you're a little off target.
Teach me.
Aviation is all about safety. Safety is number one. And we get back into the recurrent training. Now we can start to go, what's two? Education, learning something about the airplane. I don't care if it's a J3 Cub, P-51 Mustang, 747. It's learning every day something about that airplane, the little nuances. It's almost like learning a foreign language in a sense, because all these airplanes, as you know, they talk to you. All you got to do is understand the language. Now we get into fun. It's so safety, education, fun is the way I like to look at aviation.
And actually what happens is I find myself, and we're very fortunate, we live on a grass strip. And it's so comfortable and easy to be able to just, walk out your front door and I think I'll go flying today. But it also introduces the opportunity to walk into that very critical area of being too easy. And I did something, and I will admit this. It's a good thing the FAA is not here today. But I was on takeoff roll, and usually it's oil pressure, airspeed alive, and airspeed alive, and airspeed alive. You look out. Left the damn cover on the pitot tube. Oh no, so that's embarrassing. It would have been fine, but okay, all right, lesson for me. I stopped, went around, got out, pulled it off. I never to this day will take off in that Citabria without, when I'm taxiing out, I look over and make sure that streamer is not on the pitot tube. So it's safety. Then I'm starting to feel more, and it's so insidious the way that the lack of safety can start coming in to our operations.
Yeah, complacency. Tell us about complacency. That's a good example. Give me another one of complacency in aviation.
For me personally, that's the only mistake I've ever made. But,
wow, you're fortunate. But, I seem to invent some of this stuff, which over the years so
complacency does enter in the airlines, especially because they get used to they get used to doing the same thing, mundane things every day, day in, day out.
Yes.
Driving the bus, they get their dispatch sheet. Okay, what's their load? What's their fuel? Same thing, and they forget what airport they're at.
Absolutely.
They forget what flight number they're on.
Yeah.
And it just becomes so complacent that when they have a real in-flight emergency, they're behind the 8 ball because they weren't plugged into the airplane.
Have you ever met Mr. Murphy of Murphy's Law?
Oh, I know Mr. Murphy quite well. What could go wrong? I mean, that's one of the phrases we use.
Don't we all? And one of my things about Murphy's Law is Murphy always tries to sneak up on you. Mm-hmm. If you see him, he goes away. That's part of recurrent training. That's part of awareness. That's part of so many things that are critical in aviation. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Coleman?
I would agree with you, Lee, and you know, it's very perceptive from your position here as a host. But Lee, I have not been through your course, your training, but I know your ground school is very thorough, and that you do approach this in a very professional manner. And I say that with extreme prejudice, because I love the way that you do your business. And I would like to come up and I'll even, as soon as I get my income tax return back, go through and sit in on your training someday, because I think it's good, even if I am not going to go up and actually do the flight routine. I love to see the regiment of the building blocks of learning. Yes. And learning that airplane. And you do such a fabulous job in Crazy Horse, and it's so smooth and it's effortless. But there's a lot of experience behind those smooth moves, and I don't think I've ever seen a hasty or a uncalculated. Only you would know what's uncalculated up there when you zig, when you meant to zag. But you can. That's part of being professional, is to make it seamless.
Well, if you look at the Mustang and the history of the Mustang, it really is a national treasure. And so today, I'd like to look at taking the Washington Monument on a stroll, mm-hmm. or something that is a very significant, almost like taking your wife for a walk.
Yeah.
You know?
I can only imagine.
Yes.
Because I have not had the experience yet, but someday.
Well, hey.
Someday, I will.
So the whole thing about the responsibility that we have and the training that goes along with that responsibility is, in a sense, not monumental, but is very, very high. And you know, we're keepers of the keys in a way. Hope to pass that airplane to the next generation so that we can keep them around. You know, we're blessed to get to do this for fun. The Mustang was designed as an air combat airplane, and that's some of what my flight demonstration shows you. Some of the capabilities of the aircraft. Mm-hmm. It wasn't designed as a friendly sort of Cessna 150 certified airplane. This was an all-out combat airplane. By the way, there's no stall warning, buzzers, bells, whistles, pushers, pullers, shakers. It's all aerodynamic buffet. So there's a learning curve to it, but what a marvelous airplane.
In all these years that you've been flying, it still, you still have to get a little excited when you have to take, and once you have to take a flight. I'm sure that there's times that it takes a lot out of you. You've got to stay in pretty good shape to take the G's, and to, I understand the air conditioning is not really up to par in the aircraft.
Well, it's got a big fan up on the front, though.
Okay. But I mean, you work hard. I mean, you come down at the end of a heavy routine in the summertime, and people are wanting to wave and come up and pat you on the back and leave this. Probably about the only thing you'd like to do is go sit down and have some water.
You know, it's interesting. If you watch like the Raptor, the Blue Angels, the Thunderbirds, those guys are pulling 9 Gs. The Mustang was designed for 8 positive Gs. And oh, by the way, they did it with slide rules and drafting tables, and about 120 days or so. Pretty amazing. Yeah. So the airplane is more capable, really, than in most cases the pilot without a G suit or trained to high Gs. And so we factored down to 6: age of the airframe, respect of the national monument, age of the pilot, even though I'm only 35. But well, that wasn't very polite, as my guest.
That's just a little tickle in the throat.
So common sense comes into play in the safety aspect. So the airplane's just marvelous to fly, but it's a very, very strong platform. And as I said before, you strap it on, you wear it, and if anybody ever has the opportunity to fly the Mustang, don't pass it up. But I will warn you right now, it's addictive. Look at me. I might as well be the most addicted person in the world of the Mustang.
I would like to call you the poster child of how to do things right professionally, and there are those that are watching this presentation that think I'll never ever have a chance. I disagree. If you focus and work hard, plan your strategy, and who knows? And Lee, I know that you are very benevolent, and sometimes the way, if you see someone that's working their behind off, and you are, and every now and then, I'm just saying, every now and then, the opportunity comes up to where you have to move the airplane from point A to point B. And if you're worthy, there's a possibility. I'm not saying this, we're not going to keep you on tape on this, but you want to go to so-and-so? Yeah, hop on in. We'll go together.
Well, that's very nice of you. Actually, you know, I'm busy with the Florida Aviation Network probably through the rest of the day. I fly a demo today at about 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not busy, the key's in the airplane, and you know,
I'll be right back.
That'll work for me.
I'll be right back. You're too kind, but and we do like having some fun with this. But Lee, we want to, if you want to get involved in aviation, and the pinnacle to a lot of people is not in that seat where you're sitting as a host, but it's sitting in the seat of a P-51. And I don't see that changing, I know, in my lifetime, and hopefully the other lifetimes to come. Youth in aviation, is there anything that you guys are doing at Stallion 51 that promote education and youth training?
We do. We support the ACE program here, which is very, very valuable to the next generation. And as we get older and, you know, the next generation comes in, they have to have the opportunities that we have. And so I'm taking one of the outstanding ACE cadets with me back to Kissimmee as a reward for hard work. And you hit it. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on your goals. I never thought that I'd get a chance to fly fighters, and you know, that's what I've been able to do for the last 34 years until I got hired by the Florida Aviation Network, and now I can really brag about it.
Well, you've got some bragging rights, that's for sure, Lee. And again, we can't talk too much about the Mustang, but we can talk more about how we're going to pass the gauntlet on to the next generation. And it's getting tougher. It's getting tougher every day. We're losing more airplanes, and there will not be many other P-51s. I was fortunate enough, now that you asked me, as the host, of my involvement with the Enforcer program back at Piper Aircraft.
Yes.
When they took a Mustang and hung a
I know it well.
T5801 turbine on it, 2,000 shaft horsepower, swinging a big prop, and Dave Lawrence was the test pilot.
Yes.
And Dave and I spoke quite a bit because I was the accident investigator at the time, and Dave and I went through the scenario of in the event of what if, and we were very prepared for bad things to happen in the development of that aircraft. But it was just the PA-48. It just kind of popped back into my head there. The PA-48 was a tremendous little airplane, but it didn't make it in the JPATS program. It didn't have the ability to put out the weaponry at Eglin Air Force Base the way they need to. But when you say you're familiar with it, what involvement did you have with the Enforcer?
I actually, ironically enough, flew with Dave in that program as a chase airplane, one of my early things in the Mustang. So Dave and I have had a privilege to fly, and since that time I've gotten more into the test business myself, and as a member of Society of Experimental Test Pilots, and actually doing a program coming up about the torque roll of the P-51 Mustang. And it's one of the great stories you hear about the P-51 Mustang in aviation, other than your background. And anyhow, the misnomer that I don't think it's as much a torque roll as it is stalling the wing. And so talk is cheap. Now it's time to go prove it. So I'm developing a whole flight test program, working with a couple other accomplished test pilot guys, and we're going to go look at the Mustang 80 years later and try to maybe get rid of some of this, the story stuff and get back to reality.
Just briefly, we talked about getting at a low airspeed, high angle of attack, low power setting, and then applying a lot of power.
Cobbing the power up for a go-around condition, and then making the transition, cleaning the airplane up. So, I would argue, even with, your extensive background, that you could go out and do it very, very well the first time. So.
Well, I intend to prove that to you someday. Someday we will. Well, Lee, my voice is getting kind of cracked and tired. I'd kind of like to end this interview, but I can't because I'm the guest. But the host could probably say, thank you for joining us here at Florida Aviation Network. I'm Lee Lauderback, and we'll see you next interview.
Are you steering me again?
I'm
You're
sorry.
You're a great coach. You're doing well for your CFI. Seriously, you have a demo to fly this evening, so I will let you go and get prepared for that.
Appreciate that.
But I'd like to thank you, Mr. Coleman, Ben Coleman, ladies and gentlemen, for being on our show today with Florida Aviation Network. And thank everybody for watching us have some fun, and hopefully it isn't at your expense. So it's a great day for an air show, and get out and enjoy it, and we'll see you out there.